So if you have a blanket or a towel handy, grab that. You can use your mat. If not, I'm trying a different view this morning, so we'll see how that goes. But we're gonna get started on our backs. And with a blanket roll just under your shoulder blades so that the chest is raised a little, getting a nice heart opener to start. And if you don't have a blanket roll, you can roll the top of your mat down and use that underneath your shoulder blades. So just making sure it's under the back of the heart. So you'll have a natural curve in your lower back, and then the arms are above the blanket roll, maybe in a cactus or out in a T, wherever it feels okay for you this morning. And if that feels like that's too much to start, you can just remove it and come onto your back. And once you find that comfortable position, close your eyes. Allow the breath just to be natural in this new shape with the heart elevated. Allow the mind to come to presence on the mat. And if there's any emotions or feelings or thoughts that arise as your heart is in this open position, just let them rise. Acknowledge them. In this time, we're feeling so many different things, probably throughout a single hour or day. And it's important to let the feelings just be what they are. So invite them in without judgment. And if there's anything that you can accept in with a little more surrender or grace, allow that to be. Take a few more breaths, just at this natural inhale and exhale, releasing the urge to control even this natural thing such as our breath. And if it feels okay for you, bring the soles of the feet together, knees out wide, coming into a Baddha Konasana. Notice if this slight change in the shape of the body changes the breath at all. And then see if you can soften or surrender through the physical body, allowing the head to be heavy behind you. Soften between the third eye and allow the eyes to soften in the sockets. Unhinge the jaw, maybe slightly move it back and forth. Release through the back of the heart and in through the hips and knees and down through the feet. And then bring both hands over the heart center. You can rest your elbows on the support that you have. Breathing into the hands this time, feeling the slight rise of the chest and the gentle fall as you exhale. Just inviting in space and anything else that arises in this heart center, remaining open to whatever comes next. And then draw the hands to the outer thighs and draw the knees back to point toward the ceiling. And slowly and gently coming out of this heart opener, roll over to one side, really slowly. Allow yourself to be in that fetal position for at least a breath. And then rise up just enough to come off of the blanket and back onto your back. Feel the spine here in connection, still keeping whatever natural curve is in your spine and lower back. You can keep the eyes closed or flutter them open. And then once again, sweep the arms either out to cactus or out to a T. Hug the right knee into the chest without the hands. So just draw it in and root down into that left foot. As you root down into the left foot, maybe you feel a slight engagement in the hamstrings or the glutes. And then just soften through the left side. We're going to sweep that right leg toward the chest and then land the right foot at the outer edge of the mat. And then bring it back in toward the chest. And sweep it back out toward the edge of the mat. So just taking these like half circles here, just finding a little rotation in the hip. And the next time the knee comes back in toward the chest, leave it there for a moment. And then release it back to the mat. Both soles of the feet are on the mat. We'll move to the other side, just gently opening up. Bring the left knee in toward the chest. And then root down into that right foot, just finding that slight engagement through the hamstring, through the glute. And then soften in through that right side. We'll take those half circles on this side. So the left leg rolls out, foot finds the edge of the mat. And then it sweeps back in. Just moving at your own pace here. Always noticing how it feels slightly different from side to side. And the next time the knee comes back in toward the chest, just leave it there for a moment. And then bring both feet back to the ground. And without rising into a bridge, just press into both of the feet, feeling them rooted into the ground and feeling any engagement in through the glutes, the hamstrings, maybe even through the front of the thighs. And then soften and let it go. And sweep the arms down by the sides. So we're going to take some reverse bridges here is what I call them. We're just kind of straightening and then drawing things back in. So you'll send the heels out toward the edge of the mat and the arms up and overhead. And then as you exhale, everything will come back in, finding the soles of the feet back on the mat, knees face toward the ceiling. So sweeping the heels toward the bottom of the mat, arms up and overhead. And then bringing it back to center. Take a few of these. You'll find that when you're straightened out, you'll have a little bit more of an arch in your lower back. And as you come in, maybe the sacrum gently finds the lower mat. But allow it to just be this natural move, not really controlling that curve of your spine, just noticing where it lands from move to move. Try to stay gentle, soft through the limbs. And the next time the knees come back to face the ceiling, arms down by your sides, stay there. And just check alignment here, making sure the feet are hips width distance apart and that the heels are close enough almost that you can tickle them with your fingertips. And then we'll take some dynamic bridges here. So the arms will still go up and overhead, but as you inhale, you'll press into the feet, rise up into bridge. And as you exhale, slowly lower down. So again, noticing the engagement as you inhale, pressing into the feet through the glutes. And notice that it's more of a natural engagement. You almost can't rise without your glutes here, but still allow it to be soft. And finish the round you're on. Take one more. And then slowly lower back down. Arms along the sides, feet on the mat. And take a moment here to hug the shoulder blades gently under the body. And then allow the shoulders to relax down toward the mat. And take the feet mats width distance apart. Arms can kind of sweep out toward the side wherever they feel comfortable, still hugging the shoulder blades slightly together. We'll just drop the knees over toward the right, gaze over toward the left. Knees back toward center, and then over to the left, gaze toward the right. Once again, back through center. Knees over toward the right. We'll spend a little longer here this time. You can keep the legs apart, or if it's calling to you, you can hook the right foot on top of the left thigh for a little bit more of a stretch through the thigh and release through the lower back. See if there's any place where you can release just a little bit of that holding or control. And if you've hooked that foot, unhook it. And everyone bring the knees back to center and rock them over to the left, gaze over toward the right. And if you'd like to hook the left foot on top of the right on this side, feel free to take that option. And wherever you choose to be, notice where you can soften in just a little more through the body. If you've hooked that foot, unhook it. And bring both knees back to the center. And then just rock over to one side and push yourself up into a tabletop pose. Take a couple of rounds of cat-cow here. As you inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. And as you exhale, round the spine, drop the head. Just take a few rounds of that. Or take this opportunity to move in any other way that's calling to you. Just making sure that if you move to one side, you even it out by moving to the other. And then finish whatever you're doing. We'll meet back with a neutral spine. Send the right leg long behind you, tuck the toes on the mat, and just give yourself a little rock back and forth here. Again, noticing the stretch and engagement of the back leg, the release through the ankle and top of the foot. And then take that foot up off the mat and bend through the knee. So the right leg is at a 90-degree angle with the foot flexed. And we'll do a little glute work here as we're gonna move into chair pose today. So we want those glutes nice and strong. So just engage through that right glute. Keep the left one nice and soft and try to stay centered over that center line of the body. And just take a couple pulses here. Just moving the right foot up toward the ceiling microscopically. The move is just coming from your glute. So you're engaging and releasing, engaging and releasing. Keep the neck nice and long with the gaze down toward the center of the mat. And take 3 more pulses. Engage and release, engage and release, engage and release. And leave that leg at 90 degrees. And then just sweep it out to the side in that fire hydrant pose. Making sure that you're not sinking over into one side, but you're staying centered. Press into the palms to help you do that. And just keep that leg out to the side, feeling this in the outer glute. Takes a lot of strength to stay static in this pose and to keep that leg nice and high. We'll take 3 more breaths here. Then you'll sweep that right leg behind the left, so you're calf to calf. Both of your shins are on the ground. And then begin to walk yourself up. You might need to take the legs a little wider apart for more stability. Eventually, you'll bring your hands up to your hips. And then see if you can just rock that pelvis forward a little, tucking the tail. Maybe feeling a little opening in that right side hip. And then slowly walk yourself back down. Coming back into table by uncrossing the right leg from the left. And just give the hips a little rock from side to side. And we'll move to the other side here. Send the left leg long behind you. Stretching through the back leg by rocking back and forth on the toes. And then take the left leg off the ground and bend through the knee, coming into that 90-degree angle with the knee. Press into the palms to stay even. And then begin to engage that left glute and disengage. Engage and release. Engage and release. So just these micro movements here. For me, it feels like the left side isn't moving quite as much as the right. And take 3 more pulses. Engage and release. Engage and release. Engage and release. And then sweep that left leg out to the side, coming into that static fire hydrant pose. So try to keep the left leg up as high as you can, coming straight out of your hip. Press into the palms to stay nice and even. And we'll take 3 more breaths here. And from here, you'll begin to swing the left leg behind you, crossing the left over the right this time. And then you can walk the hands in toward you. Maybe taking the legs a little wider apart if you need to. This whole side, I need a little more concentration to stay even and steady. Once you rise, hands come on the hips. Just see if you can tuck the tail a little bit. Feel that stretch in the left hip. And then slowly lower yourself back down, coming back into tabletop. Take 1 round of cat-cow. Inhale to drop the belly. And exhale to round the spine. Coming back to neutral. And then bring the legs right next to each other. So knee to knee, thigh to thigh. And tuck the toes behind you. We're going to do a toe stand here. So you can begin to walk yourself back, eventually coming to sit onto your heels with the toes tucked. I just flicked both my pinky toes out because they like to scoot back in. And I'll face you here. So you can either stay right here. You can always feel free to come out of it by coming back onto your hands or taking a break. And then sweep the arms alongside you. As you exhale, round through the spine, cross the arms in front of you, giving yourself a nice big hug. As you inhale, rise back up. As you exhale, round in, opposite arm on top. Moving back and forth. Inhale to rise and exhale to hug. Inhale to rise and exhale to hug. Take 2 more rounds. And then the next time you rise, arms come back out to a T. And put your attention on your feet if it isn't already there. And if you want less sensation in your feet, just come on out of it. If you want more sensation in your feet, press the big toes into the mat. And so for anyone who knows anything about the chakras, this is a root chakra issue, this pandemic that's going on. It speaks to our loss of control, our loss of feelings of safety. That's why we're really focusing on the legs and the feet today. Rooting back into the earth. Knowing that we are safe here in this present moment. Finding peace wherever we can. And acknowledging those feelings of dis-ease without judgment. Okay, we're finally going to come out of this toe stand. So bring your hands back to the ground. And just allow the feet to rise up off the mat for a minute, noticing that curl through the toes. And then give them a little shake out on the mat here. That feels good. Now we'll move back to our first downward facing dog. So once again, tucking the toes, feel that sensation that we just got from that toe stand, and then press the hips up nice and high to the sky. Readjust in any way that you need to. And feel the palms pressing into the ground, the feet pressing into the mat, and the heels reaching toward the mat if not touching. And take tiny steps to find your way at the top of your mat in a forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. And exhale to forward fold. Sweep the arms out to the side, arms up and overhead, root to rise. And exhale, hands at heart center. Inhale, arms out and up, gaze can follow. As you exhale, sweep the arms out to the side, hinge at the hips, and step back into plank pose. From your plank pose, bend through that right knee, bringing it back into that 90-degree angle. So your knees are lined up together. Right foot is flexed toward the ceiling. Once again, taking those glute engagements. Engage the right glute and release. Moving as fast or slow as your body is calling for today. And remembering that that engagement and disengagement just results in a small movement. And take one more pulse and set that right foot back down behind you in plank pose. And press back in a downward facing dog. Take tiny steps to find yourself at the top of the mat. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Sweep the arms out to the side, root to rise, gaze can follow. And exhale, hands at heart center. Inhale the arms out and up. As you exhale, hinge at the hips, float forward, step back into plank pose. You know where we're headed this time. So get nice and strong in your plank, and then bend through the left knee and start to engage and disengage your left glute. Take 3 more. And then re-extend the left leg long behind you and lower your knees down to the mat, chest and chin, and float forward into baby cobra. As you exhale, lower all the way down and bring your right forearm across the mat, and you can rest your forehead on your forearm. Bend through the left leg. If you can, reach back for the left foot, drawing the heel toward the glute. And press into the hips. Press the hips into the mat so that you can feel a little bit more of a thigh stretch in that left thigh. And then release the foot if you have it. And switch the arms. So the left arm comes across the top of the mat. And bend through the right leg. Reaching back for the foot if you can reach it. Drawing the heel in toward the right glute this time. And then press the hips into the mat for a little bit more of a thigh stretch.
And then release the right foot. Bring both hands back to push-up height. We'll take one more baby cobra here, pressing into the hands. Exhale to release. Press back into downward facing dog. Maybe give your legs a little pedal out here. Bending one leg and then the other. Find some stillness as you reconnect with the breath. Just bringing awareness to the breath is really reconnecting to it. And then once again, taking tiny steps to find yourself in a forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to fold forward. Bend the knees deeply, sweep the arms up and overhead, rising into chair pose. And then engage through those glutes to take some of the effort off of the thighs and sink just a little bit deeper. We'll stay here for 5 breaths. Then press into the feet to rise all the way up. Gaze can follow, really send some energy out the fingertips. And exhale the arms down by the side, close the eyes, mountain pose. Flutter the eyes open. And take the feet at least as wide as your mat. And then send the toes out, heels in. We're gonna find a goddess pose here. Bend through the knees, sweep the arms out to the side. As we straighten the legs, we'll find that hug with our arms again. So straighten through the legs, round through the spine, head can drop. And then release back into goddess. Seeing if you can switch the opposite arm on the top, rounding through the spine as you straighten the legs. And release back open. Round through the spine, straighten the legs. Releasing back open. And one more. And then release back into goddess pose. Cactus the arms here. And we'll just take a couple pulses. See where the engagement is coming from in your body. And then find some stillness. We'll spend 3 breaths here. And then find a forward fold. Bring the toes to face forward. And allow the head to drop toward the mat. You want to find some slight movement from toes to heels. Just noticing how that impacts the stretch in the back of the legs. And then bring the hands to the hips. And slowly rise up with a flat back. And you can bring the feet back into hips with distance apart. Let's just take some foot rolls here. So just flexing and pointing through the toes, maybe like a ballerina would warm up her feet. See if you can move nice and slow, feeling the bones connecting with the earth. Maybe even rolling onto the tops of the toes or the foot. We'll come back to stillness. Both feet are planted on the mat, hips width distance apart. Bend the knees, sweep the fingertips on the mat, chair pose. Okay, we're gonna move through a little chair sequence here. So from first, sweep the arms behind you, and then press into the left foot as the right foot rises, arms come up and overhead. So really root down into that left foot. Right knee is at 90 degrees. As you exhale, you'll sweep the right foot back, bending deeper through the left, finding a high lunge. And then we'll come back forward, right knee at 90 degrees, and sink back into chair pose. So we're gonna switch from side to side. So you'll root down into that right foot, sweep the arms back, and then as you rise up, left leg is in 90 degrees, arms come up and overhead, find your balance. And then sweep that foot back into a high lunge. Sweep it forward into 90 degrees, and then sink back into chair pose. Use your glutes. Moving to the right side again. Press down into the left foot, sweep the arms back. Then arms come up and overhead, right leg in 90 degrees. Sweep it back into high lunge, bend deeply through the left knee. And then back to 90 degrees, and back into chair. I'll walk you through one more side and then you can move at your own pace. Sweep the arms back as you root through the right foot. Arms come up overhead as left foot comes to 90 degrees. And then sweep it back in high lunge. Sweep it forward into 90 degrees. Sink down into chair. Take one more on each side at your own pace. We'll meet in chair pose. Holding here for 5 rounds of breath. And fold forward, straightening through the legs. And step back into plank pose. Flowing forward into a vinyasa of your choice. Meeting back through downward facing dog. And then release into child's pose. Allow the belly to release in between the legs. Notice if there's any place where you're holding tension or trying to control the shape of your body, and see if you can soften and surrender. And press into the palms, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Float forward into your plank pose. And then lower through a vinyasa. Coming up through baby cobra or upward facing dog. And releasing to meet back in downward facing dog. Sweep your right leg back up behind you and bend the knee to open the hip here. Circle through the ankle or through the knee. And then sweep that right foot forward and drop the back left knee down to the mat. Feel free to stay here. Toes can be tucked or untucked on that back foot. Or you can rise up, bringing your hands to your right thigh. Or rising the arms up overhead. Wherever you are, press into that right foot, connecting it with the earth below you. See if you can shine the heart forward wherever you are, opening up the heart space. And then release back through the hands. Back knee comes up off the mat. Step back in a downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Then come back to center. Inhale the left leg back up behind you and bend through the knee, opening up the hip. Circles through the ankle or through the knee, or stay in stillness. And then re-extend the leg behind you, step it through in between your hands, and drop the back right knee down to the mat. Stay here with your hands firmly connected to the ground or rising up, bringing your hands to the thigh or sweeping the arms up and overhead. Wherever you are, first root down into the left foot and then bring the shoulder blades slightly together to open up the heart. Release the hands back to the mat. Right knee comes up and step it back in the downward facing dog, pedaling it out. Tiny steps, find yourself at the top of the mat, forward fold, grab opposite elbows, allow the head to hang heavy. And then release the hands back to the mat. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Sweep the arms out to the side. Arms come up and overhead. Energy out the fingertips. And exhale, hands at heart center. Release the arms down by the side. All right, I'm gonna try to both twist and mirror you, which always serves to be a problem for me, but let's see. We're gonna get into eagle pose here. So the first thing we're gonna do is to bend deeply through the knees, like we're gonna sit in a chair pose. And then you are going to bring your left leg up and over your right leg. So thigh to thigh, maybe the toes catch behind your ankle and then sit a little bit deeper. Then the arms come out to a T. You're gonna sweep the right arm underneath the left arm, coming into eagle arms. See if you can sink just a little bit deeper. And then press the forearms out away from you. Fingertips maybe in line with the forehead. Sink just a little bit deeper. Three more breaths here. Then press into that right foot to rise all the way up. Uncross everything. Palms can be up and overhead. And then exhale, arms down by the side. Okay, I think the first side was a success in mirroring. Let's see about the second one. So sink nice and deep. This time you're gonna bring your right leg up and over your left. Thigh to thigh, maybe the toes catch behind the ankle. Then sweep the arms out to the side. This time, the left arm is going to come over the right. You can have your hands on your shoulders, backs of the hands meet, or palms, and then sink a little bit deeper. Press the forearms forward, opening up the back of the shoulders, back of the heart. And we'll be here for 3 breaths. Slowly press into that left foot to rise all the way up, gazing at the fingertips up overhead. And as you exhale, bring the hands back to heart center. Release them down by the side. Inhale the arms up and overhead. Exhale to hinge at the hips. Fold forward, plant the hands, step back into plank pose. And then lower yourself all the way down to your mat. Inhale up to baby cobra. And exhale to release. From here, we'll take that thigh stretch again. So bring the right forearm across the top of the mat. You can use that as a pillow for your forehead. And then bend through the left knee, drawing the left foot in toward the glute. For a little more sensation, press the hips into the mat. And then release the left foot. Switch the left arm to the top of the mat, using that forearm as a pillow. And bend through the right leg. Right foot comes in toward the glute. Press the hips into the mat for a little bit more of a stretch. Release the foot behind you. Bring both hands back in to push up height. Inhale up for another baby cobra. And exhale to release. Push up back through downward facing dog for just a breath. And then lower the knees down to the mat, coming into tabletop. Give the hips a little rock back and forth from side to side. And then stretch the right leg long behind you, bend through the knee. So finding that 90-degree angle again. We'll take some big hip circles here. So you'll sweep the knee up toward the right elbow and then back to that 90 degrees. So just take a few of those, sweeping it up to the right elbow in a big circle and then stamping the right foot up toward the ceiling. Take one more round, ending in that 90 degrees. And we'll take 5 glute pulses here. So engaging and releasing. See if you feel any stronger than you did just a short while ago. And we'll meet back in tabletop. And then bend through, extend the left leg behind you, bend through the knee, finding that 90-degree angle with the knee. And then take those sweeps on this side. So the left knee comes to the left elbow, and then sweep it back. Take one more round. We'll meet back with that leg in 90 degrees. And just take 5 pulses through the left glute on this side. And once you finish your 5, release back into your tabletop. Inhale to drop the belly, lift the gaze. Exhale to round the spine, drop the head. Come back to neutral, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. If you're feeling a calling toward one more vinyasa, take it now. Otherwise, just stay in downward facing dog. And then tiny steps toward the top of the mat. forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Sweep the arms out to the sky, up and overhead. And exhale, sink down into chair pose. Last chair pose of the practice. So get that heart shining forward, sink a little bit deeper, and use the glutes. We'll take 10 breaths here. If the arms get tired, feel free to bring them into the chest or hips. And then you can slowly sink all the way down, coming onto your glutes here. And from here, you'll bring the right heel in toward the glute and the left leg up and over, bringing the knee on top of the knee. Cow face pose here. Inhale the arms up and overhead, and just exhale the cactus. Gaze can go up slightly. And then you can either stay right here, or you can begin to bring your arms down to the mat and walk yourself forward, belly on top of the thighs and knees. If you're folded forward, walk the arms back in. If you're in cactus, allow the arms to come down to the mat. And then find the sole of the left foot just down the mat, so the left knee faces up toward the ceiling. Inhale the arms up overhead, and then twist over toward the left. Gentle twist here. And sweep it back to center. Uncross the legs. We'll find the opposite cross of the legs. So the left heel finds the glute, the right leg is on top. We'll find that knee to knee position again. If this feels like I'm a crazy person talking to you because your knees are so far apart, that's totally fine. You can bring a blanket or towel in there, another prop. You can bring the bottom leg long, whatever works for your body. And then sweep the arms out to cactus to start, shine that heart forward. And if you folded forward on the first side, you can fold forward on the second side, bringing the arms down to the mat. And then gently walking your hands forward, finding your belly on your thighs. Wherever you are, soften in. Feel the connection of the sits bones on the ground below you. And then walk the fingertips back in if you're folded forward. If you're in cactus, just find your fingertips on the mat. And then the right foot, sole of the foot finds the mat for our twist. Inhale the arms up and overhead, and then twist over toward the right. Sweep it back to center, unwinding. Uncross the legs and find yourself on your back as we begin to close out the practice. So bring the knees to face the ceiling and arms out in a cactus toward the side. Draw the shoulder blades underneath the body. And then bring the feet as wide as the mat. Drop the knees over to the left, gaze over toward the right. Knees back to center, knees over toward the right, gaze over toward the left. Knees back to center. One more time, knees over to the left, gaze over toward the right. Same option as beginning of class. If you'd like to hook your left foot on top of your right thigh, feel free to do that. Unhook the foot. If you've hooked it, both knees back to center and the knees over toward the right. If you'd like to hook your right foot on top of your left thigh, do that. Soften and surrender into the earth below you. Unhook the foot. Bring the knees back to center. And you can bring your hands to your hip points here. Just maybe take a couple of pelvic rocks here. So finding that arch in your spine as you rock it forward, and then flattening the sacrum down to the mat as you rock it back. Just giving that final release to the lower back. And then if there's any final shape or pose that you would like to take, maybe just knees to the chest or a happy baby, take that. And whenever you're ready, set yourself up for Shavasana. So you can use that rolled blanket from the beginning of class under your knees. That might feel nice. Or you can just find traditional Shavasana. If you're near a wall, you can bring your legs up the wall. Wherever you are, allow the heart to open up. Gently hug the shoulder blades together behind you. The eyes come to a close, allowing the eyeballs to relax in the socket. Breath returns to natural. Feet splay out toward the side. And before you fully settle in, just take a moment to notice how supported you are at this moment. Surrendering into the practice, into the ground, into this community allows you to be safe in this very moment. And then bring some awareness back to your breath. Bring that awareness to the sounds around you and far away from you. And when you're ready, after taking any movement that your body is calling for, you can roll over to one side. Eventually, we'll meet in a seated position with eyes closed and hands at the heart center. To end our practice,
I'll read a short poem by Victoria Erickson. Soften. Soften into the world around you. Allow the air and earth to heal, revive, rejuvenate, reawaken. Remember now, wildness always holds you close. Strong, consistent, slow and steady. Rocks you in scents and sights and rhythms. Is always there to ground you. Is always soothing and knowing and simple and ready. So I invite you to leave the mat today with a little bit more softening and surrendering toward the world and toward the wildness around you. Namaste.